Elise Turner stood at the arched doorway of St. Harlow's Chapel, bouquet trembling in her fingers, while sunlight spilled through rose-quartz glass and painted her borrowed gown in shades far richer than its price tag. The silk was vintage, $50, consignment rack, hem let down and restitched by her own hands, but to Elise it felt like a promise finally sewn into fabric. Outside, late autumn leaves swirled past the stone steps, the only confetti she'd budgeted for. Across the aisle, the groom's family filled the front pews in coordinated navy, diamonds blinking like small, judgmental stars. Elise caught phrases. Floating above the organ. Prelude. No designer label? Ben could have done better. What's her family even do? Ben Clayton, the man waiting at the altar in a crisp tux, had insisted love trumped pedigree. His mother, Miranda, Clayton, CEO of a boutique investment house, measured worth in dividends and pedigree. For months, she'd masked disapproval behind cordial smiles. Today, the veneer cracked. Miranda leaned toward a cousin, voice slicing through organ notes. Elise is sweet, bless her heart, but let's be honest. Marrying up comes with expectations. The cousin's laughter chimed, and several heads turned to appraise Elise's gown anew, as though each loose stitch confirmed Miranda's thesis. Elise's cheeks flamed, but she steadied her breath. Only Aunt Lydia knew the truth. Elise was heir to the Redmond estate, an art fortune hidden behind a labyrinth of trusts and a different surname. Her late grandmother, Adelaide Redmond, had raised Elise in anonymity to ensure suitors loved her soul, not her inheritance. Elise had carried the secret lightly until Miranda's quiet cruelties began carving bruises. Even Ben didn't know. Telling him felt like cheating on the experiment of unfiltered love. Now standing beneath stained glass, Elise wondered if silence had become complicity. The bridesmaids processed. As Elise took her first step, a heel strap snapped, cheap buckle, and she stumbled. Gasps rippled. Miranda seized the moment, standing abruptly. "Someone fetch her proper shoes," she stage whispered, "before she hobbles down the aisle like a charity case." Laughter, soft but lethal, spread row by row. Elise's heart pounded. She balanced, barefoot, clutching the bouquet for anchor. Tears threatened the edges of her mascara. A slow clap echoed. All eyes pivoted to the back. Aunt Lydia, usually, invisible in tweed and spectacles, advanced, steady as a metronome. She carried a velvet box the color of midnight. Without a word, she knelt and slid satin pumps onto Elise's feet. The shoes shimmered with hand-stitched pearls. Elise recognized them from family vault photos. Adelaide's wedding slippers, valued at auction in the six figures. Gasps turned into pin-drop silence. Aunt Lydia rose, voice clear as church bells. "These belong to Lady Adelaide Redmond, my sister, Elise's grandmother." She let that sentence settle, like snow muffling the pews. Today, the Redmond. "Heiress wears them." Heads whipped toward Miranda, whose smile collapsed as swiftly as a market bubble. Murmurs swelled. Redmond? The Redmond collection? Fortunes spoken in art circles but rarely seen. Ben's eyes widened, confusion tangled with awe. Elise met his gaze, apology and affirmation in equal measure, then turned back to Miranda, whose complexion had paled. "To Parchment. Told you she was full of surprises," Aunt Lydia added, almost kindly. She brushed invisible dust from Elise's veil and whispered, "Walk, darling. Let them earn the privilege of cheering." Elise inhaled, spine lengthening. Each step in Adelaide's pearls felt lighter than the last, as though the aisle had shortened to a private garden path. The whispers behind her morphed, no longer about price tags, but about provenance, Sotheby's untouchable wealth. Yet the aisle lights caught only Elise's calm smile, dignity rediscovered, hidden fortune acknowledged on her terms. Ben reached for her hands, still stunned. The officiant cleared his throat, but tension lingered. A storm cloud awaiting the next flash. Ben's fingers laced with Elise's, cool with shock yet steady. The organist held the final chord a fraction too long, unsure whether to swell into the processional or cue retreat. The officiant, Father Rowan, cleared his throat. Dearly beloved, Miranda Clayton raised a manicured hand. My apology. Father, a minor housekeeping issue before we proceed. Her voice settled over the pews like frost. She glided forward, designer heels clicking on medieval stone, and faced Elise with a boardroom smile. Given this new information, I assume? A marriage settlement is in order. A humid silence. Ben blinked. Mother, not now. Miranda ignored him, producing an ivory envelope thick with embossed gold. Standard Clayton prenuptial, merely needs signatures. She extended it as though gifting a monogrammed napkin. The congregation inhaled. A prenup, during vows, was warfare in chiffon. Elise's pulse hammered, but she kept Adelaide's shoes rooted. You assume money changed, therefore the terms must. Miranda's eyes glinted. Protection is timeless. Aunt Lydia stepped forward, voice knife-sharp. The Redmond Trust is older than the Clayton portfolio by 3 generations. If anyone requires protection, Elise touched Lydia's sleeve. Let me. She turned to Miranda. I don't object to agreements, but they're forged in transparency, not ambush. She held out her hand for the envelope. After a beat, Miranda surrendered it. Elise skimmed pages. Thanks to late-night law blogs, every clause read like neon, asset segregation favoring the Claytons, sunset dates shifting if children came, arbitration in the family's chosen state. She raised her gaze. This safeguards fear, not love. She folded the document, slid it into her bouquet, and addressed Ben. Do you want these terms? Ben swallowed. Cameras from guests' phones trembled in anticipation. I want you. Nothing clawbacked, nothing carved up. If paperwork proves that, fine. If it slaps chains on trust, we burn it. Whispers rippled, some approving, others scandalized. Father Rowan ventured, Shall we return to the ceremony? Please, Ben said, still staring at Elise as though re-meeting her. But Miranda wasn't done. My son speaks from sentiment. Our board would label it negligence. Elise faced her soon-to-be mother-in-law fully. Your board will adapt, because tonight Helios Capital, she used the company name purposely, will learn its incoming family member controls the Redmond endowments, major voting blocks in 6 museums, 2 biotech startups, and a renewable energy fund your analysts have eyed for months. Gasps like dominoes. Even Lydia arched a brow. Elise had kept some surprises private. Elise softened her tone. I came here with nothing visible, so Ben's love stood naked beside mine. You judge the wrapping, not the gift. She glanced at the guests. If anyone wishes to leave before vows, you are free. No one moved. Even the snootiest cousin appeared riveted, eyes bright with the story unfolding live. Miranda's shoulders squared under her satin bolero. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Strategic retreat. Elise turned back to Ben. Ready? His grin spread, relief and pride fusing. More than ever. The organist exhaled and resumed, notes soaring like uncaged birds. Father Rowan reclaimed, tempo leading them through vows. When he reached for richer or poorer, a murmur of ironic laughter echoed, but Elise spoke the words with crystalline clarity. Ben's answer trembled. Joy, not nerves. Rings exchanged. Hers a simple platinum band Ben insisted on after she'd refused diamonds. His a brushed band Elise fashioned from reclaimed silver, now fitting with prophetic resonance. Father Rowan pronounced them husband and wife. Applause thundered, rippling banners of sound beneath vaulted arches. Elise and Ben pivoted down the aisle, flower petals raining, this time paid for by Clayton relatives suddenly eager to contribute. Miranda remained standing, expression unreadable. Part defeat, part recalculation. At the chapel doors, Elise paused. Reporters had gathered. Word of Heiress drama leaked faster than incense smoke. Flashbulbs popped. Ben whispered, "We can slip out the garden exit." Elise shook her head gently. "No hiding. We'll write the headline ourselves." She lifted the bouquet. Petals fluttered like surrendered contracts. "Ready for Act 2? Ben squeezed her hand. "Let's build it. On our terms." The reception unfolded in the Clayton Estate's glass-roofed conservatory, where strings of Edison bulbs draped over orchids and champagne flutes chimed like distant bells. Guests buzzed in two currents. One flowed toward Elise with congratulatory fascination, heiress of the Redmond fortune. The other eddied around Miranda Clayton, whose tight smile suggested she was calculating interest on every breath. Elise took none of it for granted. She and Ben made the rounds, greeting interns and ambassadors alike, but Elise's focus stayed on the staff refilling glasses. She slipped extra tips, thanking them by name. Cameras followed. Her humility played better than any tiara could. Near the dessert table, a tech reporter cornered Ben. "Mr. Clayton, will your wife's holdings merge with Helios Capital?" Before Ben could answer, Elise stepped in. "Redmond investments remain independently stewarded," she said, gentle yet firm. "Tonight isn't a corporate acquisition, it's a covenant." The reporter's pen slowed, sound bite secured. Then she drifted off. Disappointed, no shares changed hands. A jazz trio struck up "Fly Me to the Moon." Ben twirled Elise beneath hanging wisteria, laughter bubbling between them. Yet Elise felt Miranda's gaze like a laser on the back of her veil. Soon enough, the mother of the groom approached, heels precise, clutching a crystal flute. "Congratulations," Miranda said, words polished but cool. "Your entrance was dramatic." She lifted her glass. "May I speak with you privately?" Ben offered to stay, but Elise touched his sleeve. "Give us a moment." He nodded, retreating toward the bar where Aunt Lydia regaled cousins with stories of Adelaide's art heists against Nazi officers, history suddenly more alluring than gossip. Miranda guided Elise onto a moonlit veranda overlooking Lake Michigan, water brushing the seawall like covert applause. "I misjudged you," she began, grip white around the flute stem. "But business is business. Your grandmother's foundation owns 23% of Celestria Bio. Helios is finalizing a controlling stake. A unified vote would seal the deal." She produced a folder. "Sign here to transfer proxy rights. In return, the board will create a charity under your name, public acclaim included." Elise's chest tightened. Not from surprise, but sadness at the predictability of the play. "You want me to trade children's cancer research for headline philanthropy?" Miranda's jaw flickered. "It's synergy. Celestria's profits would dwarf any trust fund endowment. At what cost? They're trialing patents that could price out low-income patients." Elise remembered late-night reading of white papers, margins she'd scribbled with concern. Miranda inhaled, mask thinning. "Ben's career, our family's future, rides on this merger." "Your company's future," Elise corrected softly. "Ben's future rides on integrity. That's why I love him." Miranda's eyes sharpened. "We can make your first weeks of marriage comfortable or complicated. Think carefully." Elise opened the folder, scanned the legalese, power consolidated into Helios, voting rights null. She looked up at the silvered lake, recalling afternoons when Adelaide taught her to skip stones and negotiate art deals in the same breath. "Always value the unseen ripples," her grandmother had said. She closed the folder, handed it back untouched. "I won't sign away leverage that can lower treatment costs for sick children." Miranda's composure cracked. She set the champagne down too hard, crystal pinging. "You realize the press will paint you as obstructionist." Elise smiled, not unkindly. "Only if Helios leaks it. And leaking would reveal your attempt to coerce the Redmond Trust on my wedding night. Shareholders adore scandal, just not when it smells of desperation." For the first time, Miranda hesitated. Elise stepped closer, gentler. "Partner with me transparently. Price ceilings tied to profit share. Scholarships for pediatric surgeons. There's mutual gain without moral debt." She extended her hand, not pleading, inviting. Voices and swing jazz floated through open, French doors. Inside, Ben scanned the veranda, concern etching his brow. Miranda followed Elise's gaze to her son. Something in the mother softened, fear of losing Ben's respect perhaps outweighing hunger for the deal. She took Elise's hand, grip cool. "Send your proposal tomorrow. We'll review it together." A fragile truce, but a start. They returned to the party. As Elise crossed the threshold, her phone buzzed. A news alert. "Valedictorian bride stuns society. Secret heiress weds investment scion." She slipped the phone into her bouquet, unwilling to trade the moment's music for headlines. Ben welcomed her back with a slice of almond cake. "Everything okay?" he asked. She fed him a bite, sugared lips brushing his ear. "Negotiations in progress. Honeymoon can wait." He laughed, eyes glowing. "I married the most dangerous woman in the room." Dangerous for greed. Good for love, she whispered. They danced under the wisteria while Miranda watched, folder clasped to her chest like both shield and possibility. The next chapter already drafting itself in pearl-stitched shoes across a moonlit floor. 48. Hours after the wisteria-lit reception, Elise walked into the Helios Dynamics Tower wearing Adelaide's pearl wedding shoes and a $29 blazer. Ben matched her pace. Miranda trailed a step behind. A silent triage between loyalty to family and the board she'd molded for 20 years. The mahogany conference table looked like a runway for power. Helios directors on one side, Celestria bio executives on the other, and 3 attorneys per foot of polished wood. Stock ticker monitors crawled red. Rumors of Heiress interference had spooked day traders overnight. Chairman Whitlock cleared his throat. "Mrs. Clayton Maddox, we assume you'll sign the proxy and let the merger proceed." Elise placed a slim laptop on the table. "First, watch this." With a keystroke, she projected leaked Celestria memos onto the wall. Internal pricing models. That ballooned pediatric leukemia drug costs by 700% post-merger. Gasps ricocheted. A lawyer fumbled his papers. Whitlock's voice hardened. "Where did you obtain proprietary documents?" "Anonymous download link," Elise said. Turns out oncologists dislike price hikes that bankrupt parents. The projection shifted to a live tweet counter tagged Hacker Fortune for Cures. An overnight hashtag Elise's college roommate, now a med journalist, had launched at midnight. It already pulsed at 2 million uses. Ben slid a printed spreadsheet forward. "Public sentiment index is tanking our share value faster than any heiress rumor. Address the ethics or the market will punish us." A Celestria VP snarled, "Activist stunts don't run biotech labs." Miranda spoke for the first time, steel and apology intertwined. "They do when activists control 23% voting power, and the narrative." She turned to Elise. "What terms are you proposing?" Elise tapped her keyboard again. A new slide appeared. 3 non-negotiables price ceiling clause. Pediatric oncology drugs capped at manufacturing cost plus 15%. Compassionate access. Fund, 5% of quarterly profit routed to a trust overseen by Redmond and Helios jointly. Transparent trial data shared with public hospitals within 30 days of peer review. Gasps gave way to furious whispering. Whitlock slammed a gavel. Impossible. Shareholders won't swallow margin cuts. Elise folded her hands. Let's find out. She gestured to a screen where a live stream waited. Good morning, everyone, she said into the camera. If you own Helios or Celestria stock, you're voting on children's lives today. Type yes if you support safe, affordable cancer drugs, no if profit comes first. In seconds, the feed flooded with yes, thumbs up, heart emojis, parents holding shaved-head toddlers. Analysts' phones vibrated, retail investors buying Helios on goodwill momentum. The red ticker line leveled, then, miraculously, inched green. Whitlock's fist whitened. You're hijacking corporate governance! Call it open-sourcing morality, Ben answered, arm draped across the back of Elise's chair. Miranda inhaled, shoulders squaring. Motion to adopt Elise's 3 clauses and proceed with the merger under revised terms. Her eyes swept. The directors, daring them to defy both public outcry and her controlling shares. Votes displayed on a digital tally, 7 ayes, 3 nays, 2 abstentions. Motion carried. The Celestria VP slumped. We'll need new financial models. Elise nodded. Start by subtracting yachts, adding survival rates. Meeting adjourned, reporters swarmed the lobby. The hashtag counter hit 3 million. Miranda pulled Elise aside near a sculpture of Icarus cast in bronze. Today you taught me valuations I never logged. She extended a genuine hand. Partners? Transparent partners, Elise answered, shaking it. Ben joined them, holding 3 tiny tubes. Lab team insists we toast with molecular sparkling water. 0 sugar. Infinite geek. They clinked the vials. Carbonation hissed like quiet fireworks. Whitlock stormed past toward elevators, phone glued to his ear. Damage control scrambling. Behind him, junior employees high-fived beneath scrolling headlines. Heiress flips Big Pharma. Now fortune for cures. Rallies investors. As crowds dispersed, Elise stepped to the window. The city below shimmered in late morning sun, glass towers reflecting. A world suddenly hospitable to both profit and mercy. Ben slid an arm around her waist. You ready for the next chapter? She smiled. First, I need new sneakers. These heirloom heels aren't built for marathon board battles. Miranda laughed, a sound surprisingly warm. Consider it my first charitable contribution under the new charter. They walked toward the escalators. Mother, son, and the simple woman who'd turned ridicule into a referendum on compassion, leaving a trail of pearl-stitched footprints corporate America could no longer ignore. 3 months later, the Art Institute of Chicago's vaulted atrium shimmered like a prism. Spot lamps bounced off marble floors, but tonight's gala stage was a glass runway bordered by easels, each holding a child's painting of galaxies, seahorses, or simply the word hope. These were the patients whose treatments now cost their families little more than a prescription fee because of the Fortune for Cures agreement. Elise adjusted a headset mic behind the curtain, grateful. She'd swapped Adelaide's pearl shoes for rose gold sneakers. Aunt Lydia approached with a garment bag. Adelaide's evening cape, she whispered, eyes moist. She wanted her legacy worn only when generosity triumphed over greed. The silk velvet cape floated over Elise's shoulders, midnight. Blue, embroidered with constellations in seed pearls. It felt less like regalia, more like a hug from history. Ben peeked through the curtain gap and whistled. You look like you command tides. Just aiming for share price moonshots, she teased. Out in the hall, Miranda mingled with ambassadors. Her new title, Chief Impact Officer, had become Wall Street folklore. A former rival CEO joked, who knew Clayton could rebrand faster than a tech startup? Miranda merely smiled and pointed to a projection of quarterly data. Celestria, profits up 9% despite the price caps, public goodwill index up 42. The lights dimmed. Saxophones hushed. MC Logan Price, once paparazzo, now philanthropy vlogger, announced, "Tonight's keynote, the woman who proved empathy yields dividends, Elise Clayton Maddox." Applause rolled like surf. Elise stepped into a waterfall of camera flashes. She began not with numbers, but a story. Raquel, the third grader from Southport, now 8 weeks into remission. A clip played. Raquel, hair sprouting fuzz, hugging a VR headset while saying, "I beat the boss level and the cancer level." The hall erupted in cheers. Handkerchiefs dotted tuxedo pockets. Elise continued, "We measure value by quarterly growth. Children measure it by birthdays. Our mission is to align those clocks." She unveiled the next initiative. Project Helios. Haven, satellite clinics in rural counties funded by the Compassionate Access Fund's first disbursement. On a screen, pinpoints of light flared across a U.S. map. Investors gasped when they realized each light was already budgeted, no capital raise needed. She closed with a toast lifted from Adelaide's journals. "A fortune is only as large as the lives it leaves better." Glasses clinked like stardust. Afterward, Elise descended the stage. Reporters surged, but Miranda intercepted. "Let the newlyweds dance first," she said, astonishing them all, and perhaps herself. Ben led Elise to the glass runway. Jazz morphed into an upbeat waltz. As they twirled, the cape fanned constellations that seemed to swirl under the atrium lights. Directors who'd once scoffed at thrift store blazers joined the floor, guided by pediatric patients whose IV poles had been swapped for glow sticks. At the runway's edge, Chairman Whitlock lingered, humbled by market reality. He raised a glass in Elise's direction, a silent concession across champagne. She nodded back. Truce accepted. Aunt Lydia, watching from a balcony, pressed send on an email that released high-resolution scans of Adelaide's private sketchbooks into the public domain. Within minutes, Dr. Redmond legacy trended worldwide. Museums projected the art onto city facades. Logan Price streamed live, signing off. From mockery to movement. Proof one simple woman can redraw capitalism's blueprint. His followers spammed heart emojis, share price tickers, and the Cape's constellation pattern. A sneaker company DM'd Elise asking for a collaboration benefiting pediatric oncology. She laughed and forwarded it to Raquel for design ideas. As midnight neared, Ben guided Elise to the rooftop garden the museum kept hidden from tourists. Chicago's skyline glittered. Lake Michigan breathed moonlight. He placed a hand over her pearl-stitched shoulder. "We promised a honeymoon after the storm." "Paris still listening?" She tilted her head. "Paris can wait. Helios Haven, Wyoming opens next week. How about stargazing under real constellations?" "Road trip honeymoon," he agreed, grin widening. She kicked off her rose-gold sneakers, stepping barefoot onto the cool stone ledge. Far below, the Gala swirled, a galaxy of gowns, projections, and possibility. She inhaled the lake wind, tasted salt and saxophone echoes, and felt Adelaide's cape ripple like a sail catching future breezes. Dignity, once hidden in consignment silk, now draped the skyline itself, and somewhere in a rural clinic, yet to be built, a child's tomorrow already shone a little brighter.